We begin with breaking news. The initial arraignment for Moscow murder suspect 28-year-old Bryan Kohberger just ended about 30 minutes ago at the Latah County Courthouse in Moscow. His appearance comes just hours after the probable cause affidavit was released. Morgan Romero is live in Moscow with the latest from court and what that probable cause tells us about what led police to Kohberger. Morgan.
Sure, that probable cause affidavit, 19 pages long. I'll get to that in just a moment. But important to note, this was the first time we have seen the Moscow murder suspect, Bryan Kohberger, in person. When his charges were read against him, he showed very little emotion inside the courtroom. He faces 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 burglary charge for allegedly killing Ethan Chapin, Kaylee Gonsalves, Maddie Mogan, and Xana Kernodle in a home just off campus in the early morning hours of November 13th. The PCA shedding a little bit more light on the timeline. Investigators do believe that the murders happened between 4 a.m. and 4:25 a.m. on November 13th. A judge ordered no bail as Bryan Kohberger sits in the Latah County Jail behind me, which is the same building as the courthouse. A no-contact order was also issued for the victims' families between Kohberger. He could face the death penalty or life in prison if he is found guilty. He was appointed a public defender, Miss Ann Taylor, out of Kootenai County. His next hearing was set for January 12th at 10 a.m. Pacific time. It's going to be a status conference, and then at that time, they'll set the preliminary or the probable cause hearing. As you mentioned, the probable cause affidavit also unsealed shortly before the hearing. The first time we are learning details in this case. Records show law enforcement was watching Kohberger early on. It's really important to note that, as Moscow police have faced a lot of scrutiny for keeping a lot of information close to the vest, for saying they did not have a suspect, they did not have a person of interest in this case, they did not have a murder weapon. We know that they were looking into him starting about 15 days after the murders, and that's about 15 days after the murders. Records show that Ethan and Xana were found on the 2nd floor. Maddie and Kaylee were found in bed together on the 3rd floor. A dog was also there at the time of the crime. It barked several times. That was Kaylee Gonsalves' dog that she shared with her ex-boyfriend, Jack. Officers noticed, this is important, a tan leather knife sheath on the bed next to Maddie. It was a K-bar knife with Marine Corps insignia. The Idaho State Lab located a single source of male DNA on the button of that sheath, and then they matched that DNA to trash from Kohberger's family home in Pennsylvania, and it ended up matching the biological father of the suspect profile nearly 100%, 99.998%. Investigators did interview 2 roommates who were home at the time of the murders. One roommate says around 4 a.m. she heard one of the victims say, "There's someone here." She opened the door for her room and heard one of her roommates crying. She believed it was coming from Xana's room, and a man say, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." She then opened her door again, and this is really harrowing. We hadn't heard this, of course, before. She saw a person in black wearing a mask that covered his mouth and nose. She described him as tall, not muscular, but had an athletic build with bushy eyebrows. He, in fact, walked past her, and she stood in, quote, frozen shock phase, according to the court documents. He then walked to the sliding back door, and she then locked herself in her bedroom. Surveillance video from the area then showed a white Hyundai Elantra driving past that area multiple times around the time of the murders. Washington State Police learned on November 29th, like I said, 15 days after the murders, that Kohberger owned a Hyundai Elantra, and his description, once they ran his license, ended up matching the description that one of the roommates gave of the person that she saw. The phone of Kohberger did not ping any towers near the King Street home around the time of the murders. Investigators do believe, based on other crimes that they've looked into, that he was perhaps concealing his location. He turned his phone off or he left it somewhere else. But then it was pinged driving back to Pullman after the time that they believe the murders occurred. They learned that through cell phone records. They also learned through cell phone records that he had been in the area of the King Road home at least 12 times in the evening or in the early morning hours prior to the murders. Outside this courthouse, on the other side of the courthouse earlier, the family of Kaylee Gonsalves, the attorney representing their family, came out and spoke, just giving a really brief statement. Take a listen.
It's obviously an emotional time for the family, seeing the defendant for the first time. This is the beginning of the criminal justice system, and the family will be here for the long haul. And that's the statement for the media today. Thank you.
Like I said, Bryan Kohberger issued a no-contact order between the victims' families and himself. We are expecting him, again, to be in court January 12th for that status hearing, which then they'll set a preliminary hearing. And we will, of course, bring you all the latest that we hear on air and online on ktvb.com.
Yeah, a lot of new details coming out of that probable cause today, but still so many questions out there. All right, Morgan Romero live in Moscow. Thank you.